everybody. Welcome to week 8 of the Bead Stash Challenge. I'm Paula Montgomery from Desert Cat Creations, and I want to thank you all for watching and joining me as we enter into our week 8 design. Hope you're all having a great weekend so far. I know many of you have a long weekend, so you got lots of times to do some bead challenges this weekend. Please post those in Bead Stash Challengers if you do some challenges to yourself this weekend. We'd love to see them, and you will enter into our drawings for our monthly prize. And we will be doing that in another week or so, sometime after March 1st. And we do give away a monthly prize, which we hope you will enjoy. We will work with you if it's, if you're somebody who's already won a prize. We will make sure that we have something new and different for you. But we would love to see your designs, love to see you share. Also, just get into Bead Stash, join the Bead Stash Challengers just to see some inspiration of what other people are doing with their creativity. We'll going to do my drawing for week 8, see what we're going to make this week. And then I want to show you a little bit more about fancy head pins using a star design, very similar to what we did with our project for the pendants last week, which I'll review as we go through here. If you're joining me, please say hello, and please like and share the video, because that helps us with the Facebook challengers, or the Facebook with Facebook, making sure that everybody's getting notified and getting more visibility to our year-long challenge. We'd love to have more people join us. If you're watching the replay, please let me know. I do like to know who's out there, and I like to know, what you're up to, what's going on in your creative life. And we got a lot of glare today. Don't know what all this glare is about, but anyways, we will get on with our drawing, and then I'm going to show you a little bit about the fancy sun head pins. I know some of you, it's not so sunny where you are right now because it's the middle of winter. I'm in Arizona. We actually have a beautiful sunny day today, but hopefully many of you can bring some sun into your life by doing making some little suns. So with that, I want to start the drawing, and then I'm going to show you our little project here. So. Right, so just a reminder for anybody who's joining us that hasn't been on before, we've been removing cards as we're sticking them on the side as we're going through this, just so that we get through everything. Once we get through everything, which will be after next week, we will start shuffling them in again and use our cards, have the full make deck, so it'll be more random. But I want to make sure we got through everything at least once. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to start adding the use and the challenges back in, because we still have a fairly big pile of those. But with that, I mixed my 2 piles. So what are we going to make? We are going to make an anklet this week. So many of you may not wear anklets, but they're fun in some time in the beach. It's often sandal weather here and in many places where many of you live. So anklets can be a nice addition to your jewelry wardrobe. So let's shuffle up these use cards, see what we're going to use to make our anklet. Sorry about that. My table is not very stable here. So all right. So we're going to use black in our design. We're going to use metal beads in our design. And we're going to use chain in our design. And let's see if there's a theme or what our challenge is going to be to go along with these cards this week. So our challenge card for this week, we're designing something using rainbow colors. Okay, so for me, rainbow colors means you can use you know, the Roy G. Biv, the red, yellow, or red, orange, yellow, green, yellow, blue, whatever. Yes, we will lay out those colors. Or we have the choice of using like that rainbow anodized metal. So we'll have to see which version I go with. But I just want to say that I count both of those as rainbow. And so that will be our challenge for the week. So on Thursday, we will pop back on and show you our anklet made with black chain, metal, and rainbow colors. So I'm going to move these cards briefly out of the way. But I want to review, so last week's project ended up making a pendant. And I do want to say that I would also recommend twisting these, the top one, so it's facing sideways, so you can just string your cord or your chain through there. But you could also add a bail or jump rings or something to hook it onto the chain. So again, these were the results of last week's project, and it's an interchangeable design. Just for fun, I made another one just showing you. This is made with some cubic zirconias. They're slightly bigger, but you can get an idea what it would look like. And I did turn it sideways, the top sideways, so that I could put that directly on a chain. So again, kind of a fun project. You could give somebody, you know, multiple colors for their pendant. It does take a little practice to wrap it so it looks nice, but you know, you'll get the hang of it after a while. So I wanted to just kind of take something off from that project. Well, there's sort of two things. So one is, I don't know how many of you, you know, have to make your own head pins occasionally. I can't always find what I'm looking for in, you know, some of the copper or the colored metals. So this is a cool design, or at least I think it is, but you make a circle, and we'll go over how to make this one real quick. So you want to make a loop that's about the side of the bead that you want to put in there. And then when you're ready to use it, you slide the bead on. This one's already done, so but I'll kind of adjust it. But you slide the bead on, just the long part, and then you know, adjust this around it, and you have, you know, like a little circle. Now, best to make the circle a little bigger than your bead so that it goes all the way around, but it still makes a nice head pin, and you can put things on here, or you can make it directly just a dangle. Our earrings that we made a few weeks ago using brass, again, I didn't have any brass head pins, so I did that design with my bottom bead, so that it gave it a little frame, kind of little character, and also served my purpose of holding the bead on there. So, all right, so let me show you real quickly how to make those. I'm one of those people that, unless I'm working with really, really tiny beads or something with a really small hole, I will generally use 20 gauge, or 20 gauge wire for my head pins, because I like them to hold up, but 22 works just fine. But today we're going to use 20. I am going to cut, you know, in this case, you know, you usually want at least like a 2-inch head pin when you're done, because you need to have room to make a wrapped loop at the end of it. So here's my head pin, and actually let me grab a, I don't have a good bead seed around here. Pick a bead out of our bead leftovers here, and pull this turquoise bead out. So This is probably an 8mm bead, so I'm going to use my baling pliers that are 9mm. If you only have round nose pliers, you could do it, just do it all the way towards the end and make it as big as you can. And you may have to make it go around a little more than once because you'll want it to have to stretch a little. So you take the end of the wire, tuck it between your baling pliers, and then kind of use the pliers to bring this around and see where the ends line up now. Since I'm using an 8mm bead, I don't need this to be too much longer. I'm still going to go a little past it. But then what I do is I make sure I put the ends so that I have a hold of both the end and the wire here. And then I am just going to, let's put it closer to the end. Well, actually, apparently I'm not as ready for this as I thought, but what I would do is maybe take some my chain nose pliers, hold both those ends in the tip, and then I am just going to bend this wire up so that it kind of goes up the middle of my circle. So see that? So you end up with this loop, the wire going up the center of it, and then you just take the bead, and hopefully I got one that's will fit on my 20 gauge. Sometimes you have to try the other end. And see, you just slide this down and then kind of adjust and bend that so that the ring is close to the wire. And you can, futz with it a little bit. It'll eventually settle in, and it's not going to go anywhere. Sometimes, I'll take a piece of like 24 gauge or 26 gauge and just wrap it around that if I want to make sure it's super tight and not going to come loose. You can just wrap it around the top of the ring and then around this longer piece. And if you're using this for a head pin, then you would just make your loop 22. So I would just take my pliers, loop that, make sure I have the, then I use my round nose pliers to make my loop for the wrapped loop. So you've got a loop up there. Then I will, finish. If you're going to hook it on to something, now's the time to do it. If you're going to hook something else into this, you can go ahead and, wrap your loop from the back, right? So. And now you have to tuck your end in. And you have a pretty little dangle, charm, dangle, and whatever that you want to use that for. So once you have that basic thing down, you can also be a little more creative. And like last week, we made those stars. This one's a six-sided, more of a sun, but I used the same design as we did last week, and we'll show it again. But did the circle, and then I made the sun, and then like that head pin that I just did, I slid a bead into the middle. And I have these in a couple of different beads, and sizes. You could make these smaller. If you make them larger, you need to use, a heavier gauge wire. But this one, I made with just a crystal bead, and it could also be used as sort of a sun catcher if you wanted to like stick it in a plant or stick it in some sort of vase that, you know, would hold it up. Then you could have this pretty little sun catcher. And if you're into bead weaving, you could certainly, you know, weave stuff around the outside of your sun. But we'll remind you real quick how to make the sun. Just a little tutorial here. So I don't run short on wire. Normally I work off the spool, and again, ignore my brand of wire. I'm using up some old stuff that's in my stash, but I am using 20 gauge, and for that sun I would recommend using at least 9 inches if you're going to pre-cut it. If you don't pre-cut it, then you don't have to worry about it. You just have to make sure you have a long enough leg at the end. But I will pre-cut it today just so it's a little easier to maneuver. And I'm going to go ahead and cut 10 inches just so that I guarantee that I do not run out of wire, because it kind of puts a little damper on your project if you run out of wire partway through. So I'm going to make this for making another one of these sparkly ones. I will get the sparkly one out later, but I'm going to use the 12 millimeter. Hey, Janelda, thanks for joining me. I'm going to use the 12 millimeter one to make the circle. And again, we want to start with the tip of our wire between these. We want to wrap that wire around. And I just kind of twist it slowly. You could go around a second time, or at least a little bit more, since we're going to make a sun. I like to have a little more stability in my center piece, but it's really up to you. And quite honestly, if you're using thick wire, you don't even have to go all the way around the center. You could just make the sun. It's just a little harder to get it to the right measurements. So, and then, so to make the sun, remember I use flat nose wires. I have some. These are wider ones. Let's see if I do have millimeters on the back, so we'll do. So these are about a 4 millimeter wide flat plier. And what I'm going to do is just like twist that up a little bit. And then I'm going to bring it down back to the wire. Then I'm going to move this to the other side. And I'm going to bring it up. And then again, so I'm just doing the width of the pliers. And I'm going to do this so I have 6. I kind of like 6 for this project. Like I said, for the other one, we did 7 because then the pendant top sort of made that 8th thing. But it's really up to you how many points you want on your star or sun or whatever you want to call it. You can make it a star. You can make it a sun. I'm trying to make it sunshiny for people, so I'm calling it a sun today. But and like I said, we're going to do this so that we have 6 points. I got one more to do. And hopefully that brings you back here. And you'll notice, so since I went around, I made 2 loops. I had started with 10 inches of wire, so I'm cutting it close here. But this last piece of wire is just going to fold up, and it's going to make it so that you know, that's my piece that I'm going to put the bead onto. So in order to get this to lay right, we do have to do some wire wrapping. So again, I'm going to use 24 gauge. I probably cut about 6 to 8 inches. It's not an exact science. For this one, what I like to do is start with you know, that first one, and I will start at the bottom here. Now, it's possible, you know, if you know you're going to put the bead on there, you could start up at this end, so that you can wrap it around this to hold the bead without having to change wires. But it, you know, it's easier if I start right here where my first point was, so that I can adjust the points around evenly as I go. If I start in the middle, then it might be off center a little bit. But so again, I just need to wrap this around where that where the bottom of the point meets the wire. Just wrap it around a couple times, and it'll hold. It tends to keep the wire a little flatter against your center circle if you do like one wrap through the middle here before you go up to your next point. Once you get past this first one, it goes a little more smoothly. Trying to stay on screen here, and you see them. And like I said, you really only, I do twice at each of these those little troughs or troughs, or I don't know what you want to call them. Just keep it tight against the wire. Again, once around the center one. And you know, you could completely wrap the center wire if you really wanted to. I don't want to spend that much time wrapping it, but it would look really pretty if you you know, if you want to do that and make it a more complete project. So great! I look forward to seeing what you posted, Janelda. I'm you'll see my draw while it's still on the table. So I know you're down to the end of your pile as well, as far as your make pile. So I'll be curious to see what you drew this week. I know what I'll be making next week because I only have one card left now. But I hope, you know, I'm hoping we're going to see some more people posting their designs. Love to see what people are making. I'd love to hear if, you know, you're finding the cards as beneficial in making your creativity, making you more creative on your designs, or try new things. You know, that was last week for me. I actually had a lot of fun trying to figure out how to put elastic wrap into my design, and I actually thought, you know, now I have a changeable design that I can do different things with. So it's something I probably would not have come up with. So I know, Janelda, none of us have made, well, I'll have to look and see what you drew. I won't spoil the fun for those that haven't seen it yet. Oh, and hey, Lori, welcome. It's so nice to have live people on here today. And we're just showing a little bit more. There's a little bit of a follow-on to last week's project, but, you know, I kind of see Sunday as we're drawing as something that I can just play a little and show you some of the things that I'm kind of messing around with. All right, so that goes around there twice. So, you know, now I have the option of just, you know, wrapping it around this edge a little if I want to, just to tighten it up, give me give me a good end for my wire. And I will trim those in a moment and tighten them up. I don't quite have the hang of having everything where I need it here. I need a bigger workspace is what I need. So there I've made, you know, this 6-point sun. And I'm going to pull out another, so with, you know, I used the 12mm circle on my pliers, and it does work with both 10 and 12. So this is a 10mm bead, and it works, you know, it works pretty well. You get a little space around there. This one's a 12mm, and, you know, I kind of have to maneuver it a little bit to get it, you know, the wire stretched around it, but so I mean, you know, if you're going to use 12mm, which I did, yeah, maybe you don't want to do two loops, but there we go. We get a bright, shiny thing, and like I said, like we did with this one, we could just put a loop and make it a dangle off of something, or you could put more beads directly on there to make something, or in this case, as long as I, this case I would definitely, if I'm going to use this to stick it in something vertically, you know, like a plant or somewhere outside, I definitely want to weave that back through these rings on the side so that it doesn't go anywhere. But anyways, just wanted to show, like I said, that's a little way to play with making fancy losing my mind here. Fancy ends or fancy bottoms, head pins. Here we go. I need more coffee. That's what I need. We can make fancy head pins in whatever color. You could use metal beads. You can use, like I said, gemstones, crystals, anything there. I would just try to pick your circle as being either the same size or slightly larger than your bead. And if it's the same size, then like I said, you need to go more than once around, or you will end up with a little gap here, like I did. But if I'd have gone just past it, it would have fit just fine. And then, like I said, you can play with them and make like suns. I've been trying different things. I even tried to, my sister loves panda bears. So I tried making a bear head. I don't love him, but he's not horrible. So I got some little ears and put a pearl in there. So anyways, you can play with these all you want, make creative little dangles. I do totally have cat ones, which I will, let me grab those, I'll show them to you. Cats are very similar to making the sun, because you bet you just make 2 ears instead of, so see, the cat just has the 2 ears. And so like this one, I put another bead on top of, and then I just attached the wire at the top and the bottom. So there you go, see? But the cats and the suns are about the only ones that I've been happy with. So feel free to play with that. And like I said, you can do a lot with this cat. I actually, and I have cat hair in my cat, apparently. Did some bead wrapping all around it. I hadn't really figured out what to do with it. I ran out of wire, so I don't have a loop on the top. But, you know, I could still attach wire and hang it off of something, or I could use, you know, a jump ring to hang it off the ear on something. So, yeah, so the cat's definitely one that I use this technique for. So, all right. You have cat hair everywhere too. Okay. Yeah, I have 2 cats, and in Arizona they really shed. So, All right, so that's my project for the day, and show you a little bit, like I said, some ideas for making fancy head pins or bead cages or whatever you want. And like I said, this, so you could do it for the pendant again, or you can do, you know, the stars, or certainly cats. And if you come up with a good bear, dogs are really hard too, because dogs have different ears. But I have successfully made a dog, but not as a head pin. But I made a beaded dog, similar to my other little beady creatures that we have. So anyways, hope you have a great day. And if you make some of these head pins, I'd love to see what you come up with. And I look forward to seeing your week 8 projects. Let me flip this around. And thank you both for joining me. I appreciate having a live audience out there, and you guys are always great about catching me on the replay. I look forward to seeing what you guys have in week 8. It's hard to believe that we're at week 8 already. We will be doing this again next week. I should be doing the reveal on Thursday at the normal time, the Mountain Time, 12 o'clock Mountain Time, 2 o'clock Eastern. You know, you guys can do all the calculations there. And we will, depending on what I come up with, I may make it live, or I will show it ahead of time, and we'll do something as part of the live. But thank you all for joining me and for your support, and I look forward to seeing all your projects. Hope you stay safe and have some great weather. And again, you have a day off tomorrow, no mail, so you might as well spend your time beading, making some head pins or something. So I will see you all on Thursday. Don't forget to like this post, comments. Everything helps a little bit, and I appreciate all the support, and I look forward to seeing everyone's projects and sharing mine with you on Thursday.